John, what are you doing? It's time to start the show.
I'm watching a movie. Do you know what it takes to make a movie and how we could possibly invest in one?
No, I don't, and that's exactly why we have Gabe Dunn on today's show. They're sharing all the ins and outs of making a queer movie and how we, our listeners and viewers, can invest in films to help diversify our investing strategy.
Well, then let's get on with Queer Money episode number 508.
The mission of Queer Money is to financially empower the LGBTQ plus community. Join us in thanking Capital One for supporting that mission.
Welcome back, Gabe Dunn, to the Queer Money Podcast. We're
Thank
excited
you
to
for
have
having me. Wow, look how professional you are in your setup.
We're trying little incremental improvements every day,
Wow.
and next thing you know, you're like, you have a really good path. I actually just spent the last hour or so listening to a few of our episodes from like 1 through 5. Oh my God, it's so horrible. The sound quality is horrible. The way we flow is hard. Like it's just you guys. It's like looking at like your high school yearbook, and you're like, oh my God. So much
Yeah,
has
I
changed.
have fans in my Discord who are going back and listening to earlier episodes, like restarting the show, and I'm like, no, why? What was I like?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
You don't want to know.
I
Just don't look
know.
back.
Back when we did all the editing ourselves, and we left in there was one whole conversation where we were talking about whether or not the video was actually
Incredible.
being recorded, and it got left in the podcast.
Incredible. And that's the sort of raw authenticity that drew people to to you guys.
Yeah, probably. We should maybe tap
Yeah.
into that a little bit.
Exactly.
So a lot has changed since you were on Queer Money episode 136 years ago promoting your book, Bad with Money. Do you mind sharing with our audience what all has
Yeah,
happened?
so I'm Gabe Dunn. I host the Bad with Money podcast, and then I came on this show to talk about the Bad with Money book, so that must have been 2019. And since then, there was a pandemic. I don't know if you guys know. And then in 2021, I started coming out as trans, and then was it 2024? So I had top surgery a year and a half ago, and then I had been on T a little bit before that, and then I changed my name. January 2023. So I had another name. It's very similar to this name. I really didn't make it hard for you guys. I was joking that because it costs like $600 to change my name, all told. I was like,
Oh, wow.
I don't know why I had to pay full price. I knocked 2 letters off the end. Like, I think they should have given me a discount.
get a discount.
Like, why did I have to pay the same price as somebody changing their whole name? It's not fair.
Yeah. I agree with you. Take it up with, I guess you had to do that through the state
No,
of New York.
I'm in LA. I had
Take
to
it up
go
with
to
them.
like the Santa Monica courthouse,
Oh.
and they're very nice over there. But I was like thinking about it, and I was like, oh my God, all this hassle for 2 letters.
Totally. So I think that's a great segue into the movie that you just told us 20 days
Yeah.
until production that you're about ready to start producing. Do you mind sharing with our audience a little bit about what this movie is all
Yeah.
about?
So on top of the other stuff that I do, I'm a writer director, and also during 2020, I had started writing this film about trans musicians, and I initially there wasn't a trans guy character just because I didn't know, and I wasn't out, and then I was nervous, and so eventually I did a bunch of rewrites, and I got a bunch of notes, and now we're going into production, which is indie film is nuts. The fact that I'm doing this is absolutely unhinged. It's called You and I, You and Me, and it's about a trans woman musician who lost her career when she came out, and then she's paired by her record label CEO with his son, who's a trans guy punk rocker, to write her an unlikely comeback hit. And they hate each other, and then they fall in love. It's The Stars Born, music and lyrics, once. And so I wanted to write that, and I just so happened to, not trying to be radical or anything, I think I am going into production on the first, if not one of 3 trans romance movies, trans woman, trans man romance movies ever made. There's one depiction I saw in a film called The People's Joker that came out or that's coming out soon. That's one of my favorite movies I saw last year. But other than that, this is like the only one that I've ever heard, seen, been through the archives, all this stuff. So I was surprised. I'm also like truly excited. So it's we did like you know, a bunch of different crowdfunding things. We've been like getting investors and donors. It's like a whole element of finance that I am doing by myself and that I wasn't 100% familiar with before we started. But we've been working on it for like, you know, 3 years, and now we're finally doing it.
Awesome. Well, so why is it important to you to tell a story like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a very limited. I think we did a great job with what we have in terms of trans film, but there's like a limited amount of big budget, and I say big budget like, I don't know. To me, it's funny because the film industry is so weird, and I'm sure, I don't know if your listeners know, but like a $1 million movie is extremely low budget, and then like a $3 to $5 million movie is like low budget, and then like, you know, it's still like 10 is still considered kind of low budget. Like, it's truly wild. I remember like my ex, who's a software engineer, I was like talking about that my movie is like, I'm doing it for like $350,000, and he was like, wow. And I was like, no, like a low budget movie is $1 million. And he was like, $1 million for what? What are you paying? What are you buying? And I was like, no, like things are so expensive. And of course, like there was a strike. You want to pay people like fairly. You want to pay people their rates and stuff. So like, for me, for like getting the film done, it's very low budget. But in terms of like trans film, it is something that I think has more money behind it than a lot of trans films do or have in the past. And so I just was tired of seeing the same stories over and over again. And I don't mean to knock other creators or other, you know, mostly cis people who have made these films, but like, we don't need another like traumatic thing happens. The person comes out, they go see their family. The family hates them. Like, we get it. And so trans people do other stuff other than being trans. And so, I know.
No.
And so I wanted a romantic comedy. I wanted a romance between two trans people. I initially wrote it where the main character was a cis guy, but I just kept thinking like that we don't need a way in. Like, I'm trans. The way in, like, people would say, oh, you need a way in. You need like a cis person in it but like, you don't. Like, you get it. You understand at this point in history, like, you understand who musicians are. That's why I chose music, because it's very universal. So I was like, okay, you understand what a pop star is. You understand what a punk rocker is. Maybe you don't understand their genders, but I'm feeding it to you in a very, like, understandable way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's interesting you bring this point up about budget, because I remember watching the Academy Awards, and I'm going to forget his name, the
Cord Jefferson.
the screenwriter
Cord
for,
Jefferson.
Yes. When he made that comment about, instead of making a $100 million movie, why don't you make $10 million or $25 million movies? And I think that that's really important, because there are a lot of people who get left out when all we focus on is big budget.
The Avengers.
And yeah, the Avengers, or and we don't need another superhero movie. I mean,
But we need another hero. We don't need another hero either.
Yeah, right. And I'll also add in, one of the things I appreciated that you just said is the types of stories, the stereotypes of stories that happen within the queer community. I remember back in the mid to late 90s, it was like, oh, do we have to have another movie where gay men are dying of AIDS? Can we just have a gay love story? And it was just so difficult for those kinds of movies to be made, or to actually make it to the screens where most people could see them. And I think that's one of the things that I think maybe technology is moving us in that direction of where we have more accessibility, right? Movies can be placed in a lot more places to potentially make them profitable, or make enough money to cover the costs of having.
Yeah, you can prove that there's an audience for it. That's what's been really amazing, is that, you know, gay people don't have as much money, But when I put out the call saying I'm making this film, like I'm doing it independently. I don't have a studio. And like I've mostly worked with studios. I'm a TV writer. Like I've worked with like Netflix, big like Freeform, FX, like all these places. My current TV project is at Universal TV. Like I work with studios, so I'm doing this like by myself, independently, or not by myself. So the point is that so many people came forward by myself, indie, but so many people came forward and were like, I want to help. I want to do something. How can I help this movie? I want to edit it for a lower rate. I want to I can come to set and help. What do you need? Like, do you need food? Like all of these, the queer community came together. And like, that's the thing that's so, and I mean, you guys saying, come on our show, and that's the same thing as, when you talked about streamers or more places to put movies, it's funny because you used to be at the behest of these bigger executives, and now I can prove that I have an audience. I can prove I have all these followers on social media. I have all these people who listen to my podcast. Here are the numbers. Here are the things. This is who's going to watch this movie. This is who's going to buy this movie. This is who is clamor. Here are all the emails from people saying they would love this movie. When I had my short film that won Frameline Fest in 2023, which is called Grindr Baby, when I threw the trailer up on Instagram, it had like 50,000 views like overnight for the trailer, just the trailer. And
Wow.
And so then it's always been weird to me in Hollywood where I work to go in and have executives at the very top say there's no audience for this. And then I go home, I look at my social media and I go, I think that's not true.
Look.
So that's what's been so cool is that you're right, the access and stuff and the ability to like show that, and also to be like, I can make this movie and then I know that there are people that want it, and to make money back, to sell it, to even put it up and stream it wherever I want, do midnight screenings, whatever it is. Like a lot of us, like Vera Drew, who did The People's Joker, like a lot of us are doing indie trans film now in that way. And like there's a clear audience for it.
Yeah.
Capital One Auto Navigator does more than just auto financing. We're here to help you find a car you love, too. Shop millions of cars from thousands of dealers nationwide. Research your favorite makes and models. Explore dealers near you and more. All on Auto Navigator.
I might be naive, but it seems to me like you're having this sort of grassroots movement to sort of help make this movie happen. And everybody who's involved with it, my guess is that probably maybe more than maybe a traditional movie, are going to go see that movie, and they're going to tell everybody that they know, hey, I gave money to this movie. I delivered cupcakes to this movie set, or I helped design the clothing. Like, you got to go tell all their friends and family to go see it. So I feel like in that organic way, there's a lot of potential for this to have a gigantic reach.
It was interesting. Like my DP and some producers I'm working with and stuff, when we first met, they were like, how much money do you have? This was years ago. And I was like, absolutely nothing. And they were like, okay. And then they were saying, it's so funny the amount of scripts that they work on as just hired guns because some very untalented rich kid wants to make a movie. And then they were saying that every time they read a script that's really good, they say to the person, what do you got? And the person's like, $0. Not to
Starving artist syndrome.
like not to shit on nepo babies, but it was like very funny. Like they were like, how come it's always like and that's because I think the people who like me, like other queer people, like other marginalized people in the industry, I mean, Cord Jefferson, who you mentioned, talked about the American Fiction was rejected a bunch of times. Like they said it didn't sell right away, and he was talking about how he didn't want to be petty. I think he should have gotten up and just read every single name.
That'd be
but
great, huh?
but I mean, he's right. Like this probably a huge uphill battle. But it was interesting at the Academy Awards, the amount of independent movies that were, and first time director movies that were nominated for Best Picture: American Fiction, Past Lives. That's Celine Song's debut feature. Like there were more indie movies in that category than usual.
Nice. Very awesome.
It seems to me, just kind of thinking back over the years, it seems to me that indie movies are the ones that seem to oftentimes give these explosive return on investments, right? You see these movies, like I'm thinking about, crap, I'm going to forget the name of the movie. Was it Paranormal?
Paranormal Activity?
I think it was Paranormal, where that couple... Yeah, where that couple made the movie for like $1 million and it grossed like $250 million, and everybody's like, I want a piece of that, right? You see the potential, right? When you look at a movie that costs $100-200 million to make, they've got to make $500-600 million just to break even because of all the costs that are associated with it. So I would think as investors, they would be looking for, hey, is this a good story? Is this a unique story? This something that we can invest in and possibly get that big pop. It's almost like investing in penny stocks, which I hate to say that. That's a really, really bad analogy, but it is kind of almost like investing in that company that nobody knows about, and all of a sudden they get bought out by Amazon or by Apple or something like that, and it goes to being $1 billion company overnight.
It's very, I mean, that's sort of what Cord was saying, but also it's very like, there's been an influx, especially there's been an influx, especially of LGBTQ films going to Sundance, going to Cannes, going to TIFF, these big festivals, and like doing really well. I mean, if you make a $350,000 movie and it makes back at like, 500,000, whatever, that's still, if you're an investor, for me, the way mine's set up is I'm doing it in kind, like, so I'm not getting paid, our producer not getting paid, and then one of the setups for our return on investment situation is that the people that are equity investors, they make their money back first. So that's like the big thing, is that's who's first on the list in terms of if the movie makes any sort of money, if it gets distribution, which is sort of easier to do now because of so many streamers. And even like, for me, I have such a built-in audience that I'm not that worried about, absolute worst case scenario. It goes up on like a private pay-for site that I put together and 300,000 people watch it there. Like, no, I'm lucky. I'm very lucky to have the audience that I have for this type of thing. So like it is sort of taking a gamble, but I tried to make it the least gamble possible, in the sense that I looked at what movies do well and what movies are universal. And there's like two that I found, which are like music movies, romance movies, like rom-coms always. And then I was like, the other universal language is math, but I don't think I could write a math movie. It's not giving Good Will Hunting.
And I wouldn't go to a math movie.
Yeah, it's not.
A Beautiful Mind is probably as close to the math movie as you get.
Right? Or Theory of Everything, whatever it is. So I was like, okay, I'm not doing those. So I tried to, I'm also not a writer who writes like, and then there needs to be a tsunami and a drone, and like, and if I'm not like on set being like, if we don't have 45 tea lights, I'm going to freak out. Like, it's one location. It's like, it's 5 cast members who I selected, who are who are people I've worked with for a long time. And I tried to make it like the safest bet possible, because I know that with indies, there is the potential to make a huge amount of money back. And I get so nervous. I'm like a movie buff, so I look all the time at like, oh, this huge movie, like what's like a huge movie? Like a huge movie comes out, and I'm constantly looking at like, what was their budget? What did they make back the first weekend? Like, I'm looking at that, and I'm on Wikipedia looking sometimes at movies, and I'm like, ooh, like it'll say, like budget 250 million, box office like 86,000, and I'm like, like I look at that just to like spook myself. Like, I'll see it, I'll go,
don't let this happen.
I'm like ruined. Like, I'll go see a movie, and in my mind the whole time I'm like, what was the budget?
But it's a very economics way of looking at things, right? When we're investing in something with our money, more often than not, we don't jump into
Yeah.
penny stocks right away, right? We don't buy the small cap stock. We look at what I want to get started. What is a safer investment? How can I make my investments
Yeah.
a little safer, especially at the beginning? The more the more your pot grows, the more then you can peel off pieces and
Yeah.
be risky with it. But so what? Besides the financial aspects of this, what was your motivation to try to tell this story?
Yeah.
Or maybe the
Well, I also want to
inspiration.
say that there's also this fun stuff with film investing where you get to become a producer. You get to say you're a producer. You get to like invest in sort of a career as a producer where you get to like produce other movies because you produced one movie, or you get to keep working with the same director. And also like for some of the people that have invested in my movie thus far, what they want is to go to the award shows, to go to Sundance, to go to film festivals. If you know that if the movie wins an Academy Award, you know who predicts. When a movie wins an Academy Award, you know who goes up to accept the award? Not the director, not the actors, the producers. The people accepting the the people accepting the Academy Award for Best Picture are the producers of the film. So that is very exciting to people. They want their name on the movie. They want like to be able to tell people. They want to be on the red carpet giving interviews about the movie. Like I love the people who've invested, but it's very funny. Like some I'm close with, and they're like so excited to do the red carpet that I'm a little worried.
Setting that bar awfully high.
It's so funny you say that because when you had approached us about the movie and potentially being investors in the movie, that's one of the first things John said is like, "Ooh, if we are producers of the movie, maybe we could go to the Academy Awards."
I can finally meet Madonna.
He wants to go to the Madonna.
Oh, does she always have one?
Oh yeah, she and Guy Osiri always do. And I would never get an invitation in a million years. But it's like it's nice to pretend.
It's so fun. Also, like doing the festival run with my short in 2022. I met so many people. It was so fun. I had so many outfits. It was great. And I was just there with like a short. But it was cool. I got into like all these really the boy shorts program, which I don't think they call it that anymore. But it was like at Frameline in San Francisco, there's like the boy shorts, which is just like shorts by gay guys or about gay guys, I guess, that I was in 2022, which was very lovely. The line is like around the block, and it's all these like older gay men who have just been going to boy shorts for like 20 years. And I'm like, love it. But anyway, it was like a great crowd. But like my inspiration for it, honestly, like one of my inspirations always is Mark Duplass, who actually I did a Seed and Spark crowdfunding thing for the film, and he unexpectedly, like they have a thing called the Patron Circle, where like famous people or rich people or whatever can give a little bit of money to projects on Seed and Spark that they think they like. I don't know how they see them, but he gave a little money to mine, and I was like, what the fuck? And I woke up to the email like, and so then I got to the privilege to speak to him on the phone, which was amazing. And like, he's an indie director. He works with his brother Jay a lot. And they've made so many indie movies. And like, they've just stayed in indies. Like, you know, sometimes you make an indie movie and then you get offered a Marvel movie and you're like, thank you for the paycheck, and you go. Or it's a stepping stone. Yeah. Whereas Mark has stayed in indies. He continues to make more $50,000 movies, more $100,000 movies with the money he makes from other stuff. So like, he puts his money from his movies into his other movies. And he gave this interview that I loved, because I've been in this business selling TV for 10 years. And he said that when he got his first hit with his brother, they started getting all these meetings, but the meetings never led to anything. And they said that they looked up after a year and realized that they had taken a bunch of meetings and never made a movie. And they had always, every year, made a movie. And they were like, and then so they told their people, no more meetings, only movies. And I was like, I will walk in your footsteps. Like, I will be you. You know, he was part of like new wave indie cinema, and like now there's a new crop of queer people who are coming in that same way, who want to stay in indies. And like, you're right in that indies are the ones that have return on investment. So he's smart. He takes some of the money from the movie that does well, and he puts it into the next movie, and works with the same people over and over again who make their money back. And I think that that's like a really wonderful and artistic place to be. Like for me, I want realism. I want connections between people. Like I said, I'm never going to use drones. Like I'm always just like, it matters, the acting, and I'm sort of an actor's director in that I want them to almost feel like the cameras aren't there. Like I think it's like so much more important to get the connection between each of the characters. And I'm like a bit, I don't think I'm bothering them, but I am very much like, I have all these things that I want my actors to do. Like I want them to meet up without me so that they have inside jokes when they get to set. Don't tell me what they are. Or like, go and pick out a necklace that you think your character would wear, and then wear that necklace. You don't need to show it to me. Like stuff like that, like very, sending long paragraphs about this is what I'm thinking about your character. What do you think? Like, with permission. Sometimes actors don't like that. But so I'm just inspired by wanting to hopefully create a space where then other queer creators, I can sort of buoy them the way that, Duplass I think is straight, but the way that Duplass has been doing for other creators. I mean, he's incredible. He has a equipment list, and you can just, if you know him, you can just take his equipment for free, whatever's on the list. He will lend that to you.
That's generous.
It's so like awesome. If I could do that eventually, that would be,
give back.
Like, that would be amazing.
I'm gonna jump back to the money thing again, since this is the Queer Money podcast, and you were talking about you have an indie hit, and then all of a sudden you get all these offers, right, and or meetings, but when I look at the selection of movies out there, it seems like so often that it's rare that a big budget movie does really, really well, right? And I would think, and you could maybe correct me here, I would think that if you have your first big budget movie flop, you're not going to get very many offers.
Director jail.
Right. It's all of a sudden you're so if you stick with what you know and you continue to do that well, and you play this, like you were saying, you're playing this cobbler making the shoes thing, right? I used the money from the pair of shoes that I sold to make 2 pairs of shoes. Use that money to make 4 pairs of shoes, and you just grow
compounding
that
movie
way.
returns.
Yeah.
What's that?
Compounding movie returns.
Yeah, exactly. I can also imagine it's a lot more fun. At a certain level, you're dealing with people who are hungry, people who thrive on it, who really enjoy what they're doing. I mean, I know all the big actors get up there on the stage and when they win an Oscar and say, I get to do what I love every single day. And then you hear some story about how they're
right.
4-letter word when you have to work with them. But you more likely you get to work with the people you love.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I think like sometimes filmmakers with indies are from backgrounds that don't come from, like, I could see, like, if I had like put a second mortgage on my home to like make my indie, I could see taking a Marvel movie just to be like, help, or like they make their movie, they have student loans, they get offered like the Batman, and they're like, well, gotta do it. Like, I think there's and I think you're right that there is not the guarantee of big budget that there once was. Like, there'll be movies on Netflix that are like I saw one that was like the movie didn't get like any. It's very hard, like, right? You won't see any ads for something, and then all of a sudden it's like number 8 on Netflix, some movie by someone, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
But if it's good, that's the thing. Like, if it's good, if people want to watch it, it'll do what it do. Like, and so it's very like, it's very interesting. And so there's no kind of like, I mean, there is stuff, right? Like, everyone went to see Barbie, everyone went to see Oppenheimer. That's very rare, but there will be like big movies by big people. And like nobody, like I love the Russo brothers, but like I didn't see Gray Man, and then when I saw the ad for it, I was like, oh, the Russo brothers. Like, it's very interesting, like what names get any sort of pull anymore. But there is, not to say that they don't. I loved Cherry, by the way, guys. Okay, so anyway, they, if they're listening, yeah, there's oh, sorry. My dog is... Look at him. Do you see him?
We can see the ears. Do you have a
Frenchie?
Frenchie?
Just see these two little ears
I
sticking
have
up.
I have a Chihuahua,
nice.
and he's doing... He's so mad that I'm not paying attention to him. Look at his hand. He, like, I touched the computer, and he's like,
adorable.
excuse me. No. I'm busy.
Yeah.
All right, and
Me.
Somebody's got to pay for your
literally,
food.
he's like, excuse me, hi, hello. I'm busy. Anyway, okay, he's very sweet. His name is Beans. He's a Chihuahua. Okay, so yeah, there is something called director jail, which is when a director does a movie that flops and they go to director jail. It is definitely harder for them to get funding for the next movie, but that is also just for certain people. Like, there are certain people that can fail over and over again and still would get...
Do they happen to be straight, white,
yeah.
male?
I mean, it's Tarantino. It's you know, it is interesting too because like Christopher Nolan, nobody really liked Tenet, but then you know everyone loved Oppenheimer, and then I loved Inception, and then it's kind of this thing where like,
Oh yeah.
you know, he won the Oscar, and people are like, oh, he's a straight white guy or whatever, but I was like, he's been nominated 8 times. This is his first win. Like, it's hard, and there's like definitely people who they make a great movie, then they get a blank check because they made a great movie. They make their blank check movie, which is just like the studio says you can do whatever you want. And then if your blank check movie isn't good, you got problems. So the person who resists making their blank check movie, I do respect the control because they're like, I don't want to go to director jail. And also, it's very hard. Like, there's also a lot of marginalized directors who make one really great movie and then don't make another, don't get the funds or don't get the ability to make another movie for, you know, like years. Like Alice Wu, who made Saving Face, she didn't get to make another movie until recently. She did the half of it. But there was like years in between because... I mean, let's see. Saving Face came out in 2024. Oh, sorry. Saving Face came out in 2004. And then the half of it came out in 2020. And that is the interim between her, you know. She left to take care of her mother for a little bit, and she sold a TV show that didn't end up going. But like for women of color directors, the span is so much further after their first movie to their second.
Yeah. So from the low end to the high end, what do you think the budget for this movie that you're creating will cost? What's the range?
I mean, if we could get way more money, it would be great just to pay people more. That's all I really care about. And then because we do have like access to all this great stuff, cameras and lenses, and I have ways that I want to shoot it that I'm very excited about, that I love a very like 70s look, or like a very I want it to look very timeless, so we don't need like crazy lenses. But the highest budget we have looks to be like $500,000, and then the next is like 360. All told, this is everything. This is distribution, film festivals, post-production, music, everything for it to be done, finished, out in the world. And then the one that we're working with now is 250. And that's for production. That's for like extremely doable and looks great. I'm very lucky to have the audience I have. And the film festival element of it is not an uphill battle. Like, there are a lot of people I know who are not quote unquote internet famous or whatever, or haven't worked in the industry. So they're like, festivals, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to get into them? Like, people hire people to help them get into festivals. I've been in the festivals. I know a lot of programmers. Like, I went to Sundance this past year. Like, that's not a big hurdle for me. So so it's like, the idea is to do all of this. And then there's a lot of stuff that is really high caliber that it won't be the same cost for this movie because of me being involved. So those are if we could get $1 million, amazing.
It's interesting, some of the things that you're talking about here. I would never have kind of, if I was looking at like, this is the list of expenses for a movie, I would never have thought about those kinds of things, like the costs of getting into festivals. I think that John and I sponsored the LGBT Film Festival in Denver when we lived in Denver several years. And I always just kind of assumed that this was just you got invited. We love this movie. We're going to put it on, and I never even knew anything about that kind of background of that. You've got to pay for these kinds of things. It's almost like product placement on a shelf, right? Certain brands will give a store more money for sale of a product if it's at eye level. And that's kind of almost like what you're talking about.
You have to get accepted. They have to like the movie. But you have to get accepted. So that's a risk, but you do apply, right? There's application costs. There's the cost of putting the movie together in the manner in which the specs for that festival, closed captioning, color correcting,
You have to pay for closed captioning? Mm-hmm. I guess you do. I just never.
Somebody has to do it.
Every time I turn it on, I just always think it's just a magical wonder. But I didn't know that somebody had to pay for that.
You put it in your packaging, like when you send it to the festival. You have to do closed captions. Wow. Yeah. There's there's all kinds of flying out there, flying your cast out there. And then SAG has done a lot of from the strikes. There's more protections and stuff. So there's more protections for travel for actors. Like, you have to get them a certain level of airline ticket, and you have to make sure that they have this level of place to stay and things like that, which is completely reasonable. So there's all these costs that you have to factor into this budget, which is like, ours is like broken down. But there's, what's everyone going to eat every day? Where are we going to park the truck? That's a big one. You have to park the truck overnight with the equipment. You want to make sure it's safe. You got to find a locked garage that you can pay for 3 weeks to park a truck. Like, there's all these, who's going to drive the truck? Like, there's all this stuff that as a director, you would never really have to care about. But as an indie director, I'm involved in every aspect of what's going on, almost to the point where I have been told to not micromanage. So my assistant was like, hey, we've been talking and you don't have to reply to every email. And I was like, wow.
Look, they're managing up.
Yeah. Because that's there's other people's jobs. And I was like, I'm such a one-man band for YouTube, for podcasts. Like, we have our producers for our podcast, but a lot of it is me and Allison doing the Just Between Us podcast, Bad with Money, and me doing Bad with Money, and the New Guys, and all this other stuff. And writing a book is a very one-man band situation. So a lot of what I do, people often say, oh, who runs your social media? Like, other big creators. And I'll be like, I do. And they'll be like, what? Who's making the graphics? Me, bitch. Who's editing the videos for Just Between Us? Me. It's very it's very confusing to people, and I will, while I'm in production, have to let the reins go to someone else, and I'm terrified. But it's very there's all these little things that come into play, and all these decisions that you have to make that are very off the cuff, sort of I don't know, for example, hey, this is our wardrobe budget. the wardrobe person wants to, wants to hire this other person on who can do this, this, and this, and it's coming at you fast. Can we afford this? Do you want this person? If we hire this person, we have to cut this. Is that okay? Like emails I'm getting like all day. So it's a lot of decisions other than just like, where should we put the camera?
Yeah, totally. So I'm curious, if we have like 10 of our listeners or viewers who are like, or I'm sorry, if we have 5, we'll say,
Sure.
I'll keep it easy. And we didn't send this to you in advance, so I apologize. But we have 5 listeners, they each have like $10,000 that they want to invest in this movie. What would be like your tick box of where would you invest that money
Yeah,
initially?
so sound is huge. Sound, it's a movie about music. We're doing a soundtrack with an all LGBTQ artists, even the people playing straight in the movie are queer. We call that a Ryan Murphy.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
love
so
that.
sound design, sound mixing, making sure the sound on set is supreme, beautiful, crisp, divine. We're recording the music parts onto a soundtrack. We're recording a soundtrack version, but the music that we're recording in the film is going to be recorded live because we're shooting in a recording studio. So why not? So sound would be huge. The edit is about comes to about $9,000. So the completed edit. That includes like color grading, making sure it looks how we want it to look. The studio itself is gorgeous. It's very 1970s themed, so it'll have all these very like rich like oranges and browns and reds. And so like I want to make sure that pops the way that I want it to. Wardrobe, a lot of wardrobe stuff. She's a pop princess, so we got a lot of like really cool Y2K looking stuff. And then he's kind of a punk guy, so we have to apply fake tattoos. That's part of wardrobe, which costs money, and some really cool like punk stuff for him, like choker collar things and plaid pants, and this kind of, I want to give him this kind of like London Calling look. So that all of that stuff costs money. I would say lighting equipment, which is also extremely important. So making sure that it's lit. Like you were talking about stuff you wouldn't necessarily think. You don't use the lights in the actual place. All of those lights are off. You light it yourself with all different lights to be able to control where the lights are, whose face it's on. So like, when you walk in, you're like, oh, they have so many lights in this control room. That's amazing. You're not going to use any of those. You're going to use your own. You're going to have it dark. You're going to use your own lights. So we want to make sure that those are the best of the best, and we have enough of them. And then I would say even the soundtrack itself. We're recording that 6 original songs for the movie. The cast is singing them. Our main 2 actors, Alex Blue Davis and Murphy Taylor Smith, she's like a Broadway darling. She was in the Transparent musical. She's a composer. She and her twin sister, they're both trans. And they're identical, and they are amazing composers and writers. So she's playing our lead actress. She's an incredible performer and singer and piano player. And then our lead actor is Alex Blue Davis, who was on Grey's Anatomy, and he is a singer-songwriter. And his song that he wrote, we're using as like the main song in the movie, kind of like our Falling Slowly. And so we're gonna re-record all of that and record other songs for the quote-unquote fake music industry. There's like a fake Cardi B, there's a fake Halsey, there's like a fake Bieber. So we're doing all of those. So we're like, a Josie and the Pussycats. So we're recording that whole original soundtrack, which is amazing. Like as you were talking about for returns on investment, we have this whole thing of, the ability to sell merch for the fake bands, the ability to put the soundtrack will make money. Behind the scenes stuff can go up on my Patreon. Like we have the ability, because we own the music, to turn it into a musical, similar to how Once was turned into a musical. Like we've thought through all these different revenue streams. And I'm also like, I'm open to like all these other communities. Like this is like so weird, but one of the guys doing the art for one of the bands, he's like a very famous artist in the furry community. And I hired him on someone's recommendation because if the furry community finds out he did art for this movie, they'll support it. And I'm like, I want support everywhere. So I'm like constantly thinking.
Right.
So he's doing like posters for the, you know, he's doing posters and shirts for the fake bands and stuff. And like, that'll bring those eyeballs. Like I'm thinking all over the place.
Yeah. Well, you have to, right? Because you don't have a blank check, or because somebody didn't just hand you $5 million and say, go make this indie movie, you have to do that kind of stuff. And I think that, you know, that's kind of the entrepreneurial mindset that a lot of us have who are content creators, right? How can I use this in different ways to be able to keep the lights on and food on my table and a roof over my head? You have to look at all of those different aspects. And sometimes it's the thing that you didn't necessarily put your heart and soul into, that's the thing that all of a sudden blows up, and that's where everybody pays you money or gives you likes and all that kind of stuff.
I just threw that up there. Now I have 10,000
God,
views.
I know. And then the one you've edited, no one cares about.
No, like, I got 2 views on that.
Literally.
Spent all day on it.
The classic. I know, the classic. Yeah, maybe the furry art will be the thing that goes gangbusters, and I'll just have to recoup all on that.
Yeah, totally. I could see, you can. What was the? You could. What was the electronic, the digital art?
Deviant
that was a big
art
thing a couple years ago.
Oh,
NFTs.
NFTs.
You could make it an NFT.
Oh
Bring
my
those back
God,
in style.
no.
That was a flip one though.
Yeah. Whoopsie.
So, how long do you think production will take? What can people, like those who aren't in the industry, how long do you think that everyone's going to be on set actually creating the video recording
so it's 15
of this?
days. So it'll be 17.
Oh, wow.
So it'll be 1 day setup, 15 days, and then 1 day takedown. So that's what we're...
That is
fast. Yeah, it is fast. I mean, for an indie, that's about right. And we don't have like multiple locations, you know. I mean, we have the whole run of the studio. So we have the lobby, the control room, the live room, all of that. But yeah, 15 days. Mm-hmm.
Wow. I did not, because aren't bigger movies typically like 3 to 6 months? Is that?
Oh yeah, like
reasonable?
movies could be 3 to 6
Jeez.
months. I just watched Hearts of Darkness, which is the documentary about Apocalypse Now with Francis Ford Coppola. And I think he kept that crew for like a year and a half. He like really, he would not let go. And it's a great movie, but yeah, he really had them redoing stuff all the time. I don't know how he wasn't more stressed out. I mean, he seemed pretty stressed out, but like they'd come and be like, we actually can't use these helicopters. They're gone now. And then he would just have to adjust. And I was like, I would pass away. But it's actually cool. I just saw from But I'm a Cheerleader. I just saw Jamie Babbitt talk at Vidiot's, and they were talking about how there was like a whole set that they were using, and it got blown. That's an indie movie, and it got blown away by like the wind. And the producers were like, "How do we tell Jamie that this blew away?" And so they went and they told her, and she went, "All right, we'll shoot it somewhere else." And like that's what I hope to be, is like a Jamie Babbitt.
Yeah.
Nice. I love that. So if our listeners wanted to get involved in funding or promoting, what can they?
Yes.
How can they help?
If you go to youandmefilm.com, there's a Film Independent link. And since we're through Film Independent, we have a fiscal sponsorship that makes us a 501(c)(3). So if you donate, it's tax deductible.
Right on.
So if you do a big donation there, completely tax deductible, that would be the ideal place. Even a $5 donation, do it. Why not? But that's the main place to donate because our crowdfunding did end. We made $40,000. Very exciting. But yeah, so Film Independent is the way to go there. You can also follow us on Instagram, You and Me Film. And then I am Gabe at youandmefilm.com. So email me there with anything you want. You know, if you want to come on as a producer, I have information for you. If you want to, do some stuff where, we've had people say, I really want to treat this like a film school thing. Can I donate $5,000 and drop by the set one of the days so I can learn some stuff? Can I can I
that's really
sponsor particularly, I have my brother-in-law runs a restaurant in Highland Park, and if I give you money, can you use his restaurant for food? Like there's all kinds of different fun like ways to get involved, or different interesting, you also don't have to be a producer. You can also invest directly. You can also donate directly. There's like all kinds of ways to get involved. We have like people who've given money because they want their kids' band poster in the film. So like they sent, their kids'
Really
bands
cool.
like posters and merch for the kids' band, and they gave money, and I'm gonna put the kids' band in the movie. Like it's all, we're open to all kinds of stuff.
That's really awesome. I love that. So as creative as you can get
Yep.
might be included in the movie. So I made an executive decision earlier today. I didn't tell David about this, so I'm springing this on him. But over the next, at least through November 5th, 2024, I want to start asking our guests, what has you feeling positive and exciting these days?
Oh, I think just getting to work with the people I work with. I think like it's been really lovely. Like making a movie is making a movie, but meeting all the people I've met, like going to the festivals, going to Sundance, and meeting the actress that we have playing our lead actress, and becoming friends with our lead actor because the movie's taken time to put together and he was cast months ago. Like the people that I'm working with, on the different elements, the art director, the line producer, like everyone working together. It's very almost like the first rehearsal we did with our two actors. It's a lot of emotion to have people reading something you wrote. Like they're doing this because I wrote it. I wrote a little thing with my little hands, and then all of these people said, this thing is good, let's make it. And like watching them act as the characters opposite each other, I was like looking through my fingers because I was like, oh my God. I was like happy, but also I was like, this is so embarrassing for me. But because like, it's just like because everyone's like believing in you, which is so lovely. But also I was so like excited about it because it gets to be made real. And so I think that has been, on set, I cannot watch between my fingers. I have to just buck up. But yeah, it's just been everyone's total commitment to making this happen has been amazing.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, thank you for coming on the show and sharing this. Yeah, the passion, your passion for this movie is we can feel it through the little camera that we're looking through at you right now. And so hopefully this resonates with our audience. Hopefully it gives them some context as to what it costs to make a movie. And I just kind of hope that like someday this is like the next Once, and we do get to see the musical someday. And like, Gabe reached out and told us about this movie, and like we were part of that from the very beginning, in some way, shape, or form. So I hope that that's how this all turns out.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and thank you for having me on to talk about it. It's so helpful.
Thank you.
It is, John and I are trying to explore a little bit more with the podcast, the economics of things that people in the queer community are interested in. We did a podcast with Jessica Lahore talking about the economics of doing drag,
which is next week's episode.
And so we are trying to explore some of these various ways that creative people in our community can take their passions and turn it into a way to actually make money that allows us to kind of level up as a community, close that wage gap because of the work that we're doing ourselves. So it's exciting to see, because I know that there are other people out there that do want to do my stepson went to film school, did a summer film school, and wanted to get into film. And unfortunately, one of the things that kind of he backed away from it was the idea of how expensive it was to make a movie. And
it's not fiscally responsible for
so
myself what I'm doing. But I'm doing it.
Yeah. Well, so we really appreciate you sharing all this with us, because it's money tangential, and it's a really fun topic to talk about. So thank you.
Your stepson, your kid?
Yeah, my ex and I have a child together.
Okay, sorry. That's our fake goodbye.
We'll keep it in. I like it. It's organic. With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One, N.A., member FDIC.
Thank you, Gabe, for a fascinating interview and for sharing how more LGBTQ plus people can invest in film if we want to diversify our investing strategy. Thank you, our listeners and viewers, for joining us for another episode. Remember, this week's newsletter includes your Queer Money takeaway and resources mentioned in this episode.
Then join us this Thursday when we cover the most affordable LGBTQ plus friendly large cities. And next Tuesday when we learn about the economics of being a drag queen from Denver, Colorado's own Jessica Lahore. Thank you and have a great week.